As the founders of Surefoot, Bob and Russ Shea are obsessed with creating the perfect ski boot for you because they know that a properly fitted custom ski boot will make you a better skier, whatever level you're at. Surefoot, better fitting, better skiing.
Welcome to the Freeride Guide podcast, your one-stop shop for all things freeride. That was for the entire live broadcast YouTube comments community. I saw you, I hear you, and I appreciate you. I want to give a huge shout out to that whole crew. It was something else watching, well, almost getting to watch a comp with that community. And yeah, super fun. Freeride Guide is available on every single podcast app. We are here for you. You can watch us on YouTube, located on the Low Pressure Podcast YouTube channel. There's a nice little section just for the Freeride Guide. And if you like the show, you like what we're doing, we would love for you to click the subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and follow us on Instagram, freeride_guide. We're keeping you up to date with all things across the freeride universe. Mark, we have a lot to talk about, even though not a lot happened.
Oh man, again, so this is 2 in a row. So this is the second time that Georgia we've done a canceled Georgia competition. So now, like I said, we were watching last night at 2 in the morning, texting back and forth, and I was like, check out the YouTube chat. And you're like, wow, that's wild. And that's how I usually watch it, like 2, 3 in the morning. So I'm really glad you got to experience that with me.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I honestly, I didn't know that was like it is. Yeah, massive shout out to that whole community. That's particularly maybe an extra little shout out to the North American freeride viewing community that's getting up in the middle of the night to do it. If you're watching, you're watching at 9 a.m. in Europe, great. Love it. Love that the passionate fans. But if you're willing to get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and do that, and then engage online with the community and chat while the comp is going on, unreal. I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, some are better than others. Sometimes it gets off the rails real quick, and then some are actually really like solid and productive. The bunch of kids in there, they're like, "Hey, I'm just about to go into like math class or I have a test." But I'm watching the tour instead. So that was kind of cool.
I think you just summed up the entire internet in what you said.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, before we get into the good stuff, so and there's a lot of good stuff. We got a lot to talk about, so this is a good one. So buckle up. Big thanks to our sponsor, Surefoot Custom Ski Boots, fitting you with Surefoot Custom Heated Liners and Surefoot Custom Orthotics. Ski boots are a long-term investment. They're a long-term investment in your skiing experience, and Surefoot is here to educate your decision. Don't just take our word for it. Just don't take our word for it. Just figure it out for yourself. Yeah, they have 29 locations around the world, U.S., Canada, and Europe. Big shout out to Surefoot Sam, who I went skiing with today. He's the guy that makes most people's feet in this town feel good while they're skiing. So big shout out to you, Sam McDonald. You're the man. And Head Skis and Tyrolia Bindings, the Head Core Collection, built to ski anything, are a Freeride World Tour partner and a sponsor of the Freeride Guide and many FWT athletes as well. And I am a big fan of the skis this season. I've been having a great time. I've been on the Core 118s, and I've been loving them. Okay, so we've got a lot of Backslap emails here today as well, but I think we're going to get to those near the end of this episode because we really want to dive into what happened, like really figure out what happened. So first of all, we made a joke that it was a great one for you to not be at because it got canceled, and then it got canceled again. All right, so this one, we've got a bunch of Backslap emails, so thank you to everybody who sent in a Backslap email. If you have something to say send it to backslap@freerideguidepodcast.com. So we're going to read those near the end of this episode or the end of this little segment because Derek and I have a lot to get into. This was quite the event, and I had a lot of opinions. I think we both did, texting back each other, because this was there was kind of an unprecedented potential outcome, which ended up not happening, but it really raised a lot of questions. So before we get into that, we finished the last episode in Georgia before we knew of the restage in Kühtai. So we can talk a little bit about Kühtai. Innsbruck is one of the freeride meccas. It's like a ski town mecca. It's a really, really cool city with a lot of great resorts nearby. I've actually been to Kühtai once, and it was after an event in Verbier. The first time I was there, I actually went. Or no, it's after Fieberbrunn, and I actually went and hung out with Ariana Tricomi, and she took us there. And we skied around a little bit, and that's right when COVID was starting to happen. It was like really kind of growing in Italy, and people were starting to get freaked out. And we finished the day skiing, and someone was like, "As things are getting pretty crazy, you should probably go to the airport now." Because I was going to go back and like hang out at her place and then go the next day. And one of her friends is like, "I'm going to Munich. I'll take you now." So I literally hopped in the car, drove straight to the airport, and got there just in time to get out of the country before I got stuck for 2-3 weeks. So that's my Kühtai story. And they got like a cool little half pipe down by the parking lot. Anyways, but a really cool spot. And they came up with it really quick. So kudos to the tour for finding the replacement really quickly. Is it normally, I guess it's normally like a qualifier face?
Yeah, they've done all kinds of events there. It's kind of one of the home bases for the Innsbruck Freeride crew. Obviously the terrain is super good, as you said. Ari hangs out there. Flo Orley is there, and he was a big part of organizing this so quickly. And the level of effort that went into getting that to happen as quickly as it did, and for now we don't focus on the outcome of what happened, but it was incredible.
3 days.
Yeah, from way out in Georgia to that resort in Austria. All of that happened in 3 days. They were ready to go. The folks at Kühtai put their hand up and said, "Yeah, we can do it. Let's have it." 3 days ago they didn't know they were hosting a world tour event, and then last night for us, yesterday for Europe, boom, they're ready. Incredible lift. The amount of work, energy, and let's be real, money that went into that was unbelievable. So kind of a bit of a kick in the nuts to have it not work out. But the weather always has the final say in the mountains. And it was tough. It was so tough.
Yeah. So kudos to them, and like also to the entire staff. Not only get the event going, but they actually had all the messaging and everything too. So everybody that's sitting there on the computers in the back room writing emails, doing press releases, getting messaging out, just trying to create the proper content and then create the vibe for it, which they really did. It wasn't like, "Oh, this is our plan B." The way that they're presenting it was like, "Oh no, this is normal." Like they made it seem like this is a normal
everything's
thing.
fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah. So they did a great job. I do want to talk about the face a little bit. Specifically, it was kind of unfortunate they weren't able to run it. But the face itself, the Schoffi face, in reference to Christopher Schofiger, who passed away in that avalanche in Japan in 2023. Was a huge figure in the Austrian and Innsbruck freeriding scene. So really cool that he's got that face named after him. And I do know he was a good friend of Valley's. And Valley ended up winning an event not long after he passed in kind of memory of his friend.
Yeah, exactly. And in the riders meeting, Flo Orley told a story about him and Schoffi standing on top of that face, years ago or a few years ago, and saying how cool would it be if we could have a world tour event here. And so for him, as being an instrumental part of getting this done, and getting the event moved to Kühtai and on the Schoffi face, it was a pretty big full circle moment to be able to complete that, that kind of quest, the task that the two of them had set out to do as sort of founding members of the Innsbruck Freeride team, and real pillars in the community. So yeah, kind of a beautiful thing. And hopefully it's not going to be the last time that we see that face, because looking at it in the photos, and then obviously on the limited runs that we got to see in the comp, it's got a lot of potential to be an absolute storming FWT face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So unfortunately, wasn't able to go fully. So shall we get into what happened here?
Yeah.
Where do we start? How do we start?
Well,
we start
okay,
from the start?
First of all, I've never seen the same comp canceled twice. That seems like some kind of double jeopardy thing. You know how in the legal world, if you're convicted of killing someone, but they're not actually dead, then you can't be convicted of killing them again. So if they faked it, then you can just kill them. I don't know. There was a whole movie about it. It was awesome. So this kind of reminded me of that. It's like Double Jeopardy. Oh, that's what the movie was called. The movie was called Double Jeopardy.
So how?
Yeah. So the same comp canceled twice. Unbelievable. Like the luck of, or lack of luck.
If they didn't have any bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all.
Seriously, like, talk about born under a bad sign. I mean, they did everything. They went all the way to Georgia. They put all the work into securing the face. Well, avalanche stability isn't there. All right, let's lift up the whole thing and move it to Kühtai, where the snow is good. And the snow was good up until the day before. And then it got so hot, and they thought, yeah, we can probably still do it. We gotta stretch it out, make sure that we start just when it's soft enough, but not too late that we finish when it turns into isothermic glue. It was tough. Like they kept running forerunners in the morning, and we're sitting there in the middle of the night and like, oh yeah, it just says waiting for optimal conditions. But behind the scenes, forerunners are going every 15 minutes and are reporting back, yeah, it's awful. And that was pretty clear. Like looking at it, when you saw the footage of the face, like it had all rollerballed. Especially that south facing stuff was just so sun affected.
It looked terrible.
Yeah.
Like not even like even before the riders went, it looked terrible. And even we got to actually see one of the forerunners run. Like they put it on the broadcast, and I was like, that looks heinous. Like really bad. Like Buddy was skiing through the debris field and the rollerballs, and even Drew and Andrew were touching on it. And I was like, oh, yikes. See what happens, Derek, when you're not there? It all falls apart, man. I think someone put that in the chat, YouTube chat.
I did see that in the YouTube chat.
When Derek's not there, it all falls apart. So let's get right into it. So they had the forerunners go, and then they were like, okay, I think we're good. How crazy it is that Ben Richards gets bib number 1. If I hadn't been there and seen how they pick the bibs and how completely random it is, it's in like a little lottery, like a lottery ball, like spinner.
Yeah.
And people pick the, so for people that don't know how they pick the bib numbers, it's in a little lottery ball spinner, and they pick the balls out and then they go. The way that the bibs, specifically with ski men, have been picked this year have almost been like they've been scripted, right? He started off the season with like Max and Marcus going back to back. Now you've got Ben winning the first 3 in a row, dropping in first. And then Joey, who was sitting on the hot seat for quite a long time, dropping in second. So it's really kind of almost willingly creating these narratives, these competition narratives, which is kind of cool. But aside from that, so Ben drops in first, and it didn't look good. Like the snow was was it punchy? Was it grabby? Like him and Joey first runs were so underwhelming.
Yeah, and it looked really hard to ski. You know, like you said, is it punchy? Is it grabby? I think yes. to all of the above. There were sections where they didn't leave a track, so just absolutely rock frozen, like refrozen slush. There were sections where obviously just the surface had refrozen, and so like one ski would break through, but not both skis and not consistently, so you don't really know. One thing that I think was pretty indicative of the conditions is both of them crashed, and neither of them crashed doing anything cool. They crashed in a turn, you know, just like either in a little compression or just making a turn, but neither of them crashed on the landing of an air. Neither of them crashed doing anything even remotely close to their actual potential level. It was just trying to ski down.
Yeah, they both fell trying to get to the bottom. So Ben went first, then Joey dropped in. And then I guess they saw what was happening and they basically pulled the plug or just put a hole. They basically hit the emergency stop button. And that's where it gets interesting. So that's where it got interesting for us, I should say, in the conversation. You know, you and I were like, what's happening? So we heard on the broadcast, we're putting a hold on.
Hold on. We heard on the broadcast through somebody's radio.
Yeah.
That was standing near the microphone, the boom mic that's on the finish line camera. I don't know that was meant to go
over the broadcast
on air. I mean, that's the kind of message that would typically be delivered by the commentary team.
Right.
And we heard it like that boom mic on the finish line cam is there to pick up the conversations between the rider who's standing in front of the backdrop and the rider who's in the hot seat. And so that the rider who's on camera can wave to their friends and say, I love you, Mom, and talk to their, you know, their loved ones and all of that stuff. And have those like hilarious Justine Dufour-Lapointe, you know, hot seat soliloquies. And that mic picked up the radio call that we're going to send Ben and Joey back up to go again. And please send at least 3-4 runners in the heli with them because
we're going to start the comp again.
The conditions are not contestable.
Yeah. So basically we heard on the broadcast through the microphone that we're going to start over and send those 2 riders who had already completed a run back to the top. And you could see Ben and Joey being like, oh, yeah, sweet. Right. And you and I went, like, we weren't in the same room, but we were texting back and forth like, what the hell is happening? Like, they can't do that. Can they do that? Are they going to do that? Is that actually happening?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know how to react to that. I've never seen anything like that. I've never heard of anything like that. I need to look in the rule book to see if that's accounted for anywhere, because it's so unprecedented. I've never even imagined that would happen. And of course, you know, the riders that haven't dropped yet are like, huh?
Yeah. Like, so that opens up this.
I'd like a practice run.
Yeah, absolutely. So that opens up this huge, like, I guess, ethical sporting question, or like sporting legitimacy question. And I just realized that this all came out because of that announcement that they didn't make an announcement. It's just something that everybody heard. And I actually didn't, I was aware that's why I heard it, but I didn't actually think of how it affected things. Because you and I were texting like crazy. People on the chat were going off. And that opens up a whole giant can of worms. So, like, if they had decided to do that, what are like the ramifications of it, right? So first of all, one point of view is, in my opinion, that goes against everything that has to do with fair play in sport, right? With an event like the Freeride World Tour, every rider rides to the conditions, no matter they're shitty or they're good. They try to make them as good as possible. We've talked about this ad nauseum at how good and how much effort and time they put into making sure that it's a safe and sporting venue, right? And that's the whole point. Everybody skis to the conditions, right? And people in the chat were saying, "Oh, maybe it's not fair for people to have to wait." Well, then sometimes you get a cloud that comes in, like an Andorra, and you gotta wait. So being able to have two people run and then restarting, in my mind, is wacky. It just can't be done. It can't be done, because then it puts, like you said, everybody else is like, oh, do I get a practice run as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thought. Like, there are 5 or 6 other thoughts that developed from there. So that was kind of the first thought. Like, well, what do you mean you're gonna redo 2 athletes?
Yeah. So there's a couple sides to it that to me kind of bear, I don't know, equal weight, but definitely hold water. So on the one side, the idea that you can just rerun those 2 athletes because you actually started too early for the conditions is, it's like I said, it's unheard of. There's an opportunity. Think about that big transfer that Ben did in his run. Well, now he knows the transfer goes, and he knows there's a lip there. So you can go back up and you could toss a 50-foot 360 over that thing. Great. Nobody else has that opportunity because they haven't actually hit that jump. So your fairness is compromised somewhat. On the other side, when you've watched 2 of the strongest freeride skiers out there ski down and are unable to complete a run because of the conditions, you recognize that the conditions are either incontestable or unsafe. I would hazard a guess. Obviously, this is not something I'd wish on anybody, but if we ran the whole field in that condition and everyone just kept going, somebody would have torn their ACL with it how it was. So you got a safety issue, you got a quality of event issue, you have a contestability issue. All of those things are real. And in the moment, they're like, what do we do? Like, they thought it was okay. Now it's not. So,
and I wonder if it was just like, and like I said, they didn't mean for that to go over the broadcast. But it did. So were they, and we'll have to ask someone about this. We've reached out to the tour to see if we can get someone to kind of have a chat and clarify this, but was that just kind of a, hey, let's send them back up, maybe we can get them to go, kind of a, like, it's like we're in damage control right now, like, oh shit, we started this a little bit too early, we got these 2 riders, let's send them back up and put them in. And that's just like a quick response. That's like an acting now kind of thing, rather than putting thought into it. Because like I said, you can't send them down and then the rest of the riders down, because if they get 2 runs, like just for what exactly you just said, right? And then I was thinking, well, what's the right way to do it, or the least shitty way to do it? We've talked a lot about this, is like, what's the least crappy outcome? Yeah. That's kind of the theme of this season. And it's like, I would say, I was thinking, like, people were saying, well, if there's a big gap between those first 2 and the next few 2, that's kind of unfair to the first 2 guys if the conditions get better for the rest of the field. And in my mind, I'm like, you got to go to Joey and Ben and say, hey guys, we apologize, we started too early, but that's it, right? You can apologize to 2 guys, one who's sitting in first place overall, who's going to make the cut, and another guy who's probably going to make the cut, or you apologize to 20 other guys for giving 2 other riders an unfair advantage, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like the definition of rock and a hard place in terms of decision making, because both sides of that are terrible, and it's I guess it's a little bit like the trolley experiment. You're driving a trolley and you can run over one person or you can run over 16 people. Um, like you're screwing somebody either way that goes.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm actually curious, and I hadn't thought of that angle before, that maybe that wasn't actually supposed to go on air, and they could have just put the competition on hold. They could have moved those guys back up, had a little bit of breathing room to think about it,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of thought, oh, maybe that's not actually, from a sport integrity perspective, the way to go.
Yeah,
Now,
because
we also have to preface all of this by saying that none of this actually happened.
Yeah,
Because so like
this is us just speculating. So this is really just like we went off on a speculation. We went to Speculation Nation last night.
Oh, big time.
Right?
And because the event got canceled, none of these scenarios had the opportunity to play out.
Mm-hmm.
So, no harm,
but it's
no
great.
foul.
It's great fodder for a podcast.
Oh, big time. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because in the moment it was hectic, and watching that YouTube chat just go ballistic with people on, like, really deeply camped on both sides. Like, oh, this is the only fair way, and this is absolutely not fair, and this is totally damaging to the integrity of sport, and
yeah,
on forever.
So it's like, what do you do, right? So I think the best possible outcome was that they, like, hate to say it, that it was canceled. They didn't have to make that decision. But also, like, I was starting to think about this, and then someone had brought it up in the chat. Is like, are they gonna do like this is a free ride competition that's trying to strive to get to the Olympics, right? You don't get redos in the Olympics. It's not a thing that happens. Like, this isn't golf, beer league golf, or golf with your buddies. You don't get a mulligan, right? You don't get to go do it again. That just doesn't happen in sport.
Yeah,
right?
if you look back to Olympic quadrennials, to Sochi, the half pipe was wonky. It was all bent. It had all kinds of kinks and curves in the wall. Shaun White was going off about it in the media. People crashed because the pipe sucked. They didn't get another go. They didn't say, oh, you know what, hike back up and try again, because the pipe's not that great. Let's see if we maybe let a little bit of sun get on that wall. It
because
was,
it's a level playing field. It literally is. Well, in that example, it's an unlevel playing field, but it's like it's the same. It's the level playing field. Like, that's the whole thing with Freeride. It's like they adjust the categories every week. Sometimes ski men go first, sometimes they go last, sometimes snowboard men first, sometimes they go in the middle, right? They want to move it around. But everybody that goes is going against the same people, basically roughly at the same time, right? They have the same conditions to work with, more or less. And that's just how it goes. That's sport.
Yeah, and I think we need to be a little careful, because I think the overall reason behind the decision was probably athlete safety. Like, to stop, to put it on pause when you see those two guys go down. And
I'm not arguing that at all. That was the right call.
Yeah. No, I know, but I want to put that out there, because I think you could listen to this conversation and be like, oh, these guys just think they should have ran regardless of how shit the conditions were. That's not what we're saying.
No, I don't even know if they should have ran. I was just trying to say, like, how do you move forward? Like, how do you run a competition with this dilemma?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do we do? Like, what do we do? And in my opinion, the only real thing you could have done is continue on with the field and apologize to Joey and Ben.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you, if they continued, but with a huge weight to let it soften and fix, and obviously that didn't happen, but if it had, do you think that's fair? If you do an hour, like Ben runs, crashes, Joey runs, crashes, we wait an hour, and then the third guy drops in totally different conditions. Where do you feel that
I'm more
lands on the fairness scale?
I'm more comfortable with that than letting them run it again, without question. Because that's the thing, is sometimes there's going to be a convection cloud that obscures the face, and you got to wait for it, right? And you got to sit up there. How many times have athletes sit around to wait for their turn to go, right? Like, it sucks. And that's why I say you got to let the other guys run. And then you go and say, hey, Joey and Ben, like, we made the wrong call. And it's easier to apologize to two guys, especially, like I said, in this situation where one guy's guaranteed to make, he's already made the cut. He's confirmed he's making the cut. Another guy that might. And you can sit down and have a conversation and say, hey, we blew it. We thought it was better than it was. And it turns out not so much. So, hey guys, you just got caught on the wrong side of the situation, versus letting them re-go and then having the other 20 cause a lot more problems. Because if, like you said, if Ben or Joey ends up on the podium, like, there is issues, right? Everybody's going to
integrity issues.
It's integrity issues, it's sporting issues, right? And then, it's easier to apologize to two guys rather than 20, and then have those 20 guys start chirping on social media, right? Like, I think just based on the side of the Freeride World Tour, that would have been the better damage control, right? Because you can, like, I think it would be a smaller impact, a smaller negative impact moving forward on like repercussions.
Yeah, it's a real pickle. Like, it's a real pickle, because you're stuck between two bad options. And it was really, I don't know, it was fascinating and horrifying all at the same time to just watch it play out in real time and see.
And then back to what you said at the beginning, it's like they made the wrong, they had this, like I said, it was an aspect I hadn't thought about, is like, they didn't mean to tell anybody that. It just came over the hot mic. If that hadn't happened, we would have just been, oh, what a bummer.
Yeah.
Too bad. The comp's over. We wouldn't even be talking. We would be finished right now. This would be another little short one. And so, like, they probably had these big conversations behind the scenes that were similar. Like, what do we do? What do we do? Without realizing the storm that's going on online. So yeah, very interesting. Like I said, unfortunately the comp got canceled, but also fortunately it's now a moot point, really. But
yeah, in terms of this, and there's a piece of this that I think is an interesting, I don't know, just another little conversation nugget, where they were talking about how they made the decision to start, and they were sandwiched in between not warm enough and too hot, right? And they had they hoped for a small window in the middle where it was okay enough, good enough. And that's why they decided to run the skiers first, because they figured if it's a little bit icy, the skiers are going to handle that better than the snowboarders. And if it goes kind of gooey, the snowboarders are going to handle that better than the skiers. So they were trying to give both sets of riders, of disciplines, their best possible chance for a good outcome. But then they ran a bunch of forerunners early on, and we were on a bit of a delay while every 15 minutes they ran a forerunner. And then there was some talk about how, and maybe this was just in the chat, but how the forerunners don't ride as fast as the tour athletes. And
I think it was announced either on the radio or something as well that the forerunners. I think a mild part, a little blame was maybe being deflected or towards the forerunners. I remember that you had said that. I can't remember exactly where it came out, but I think the forerunners were kind of presented as potentially a reason or an excuse, like the information we were getting wasn't correct.
Or they just didn't ski fast enough,
right,
to see how difficult the conditions were. But we all watched that forerunner in the broadcast. He was cooking.
Yeah.
He was going fast. He was, I mean, maybe not as fast as Ben went over that transfer, but certainly as fast as either guy went when they fell. So
that was pretty cool though. We didn't even mention that transfer was pretty rad.
It was sick.
Yeah,
it
great.
was that.
We did get something out of this comp. That was sick.
Talk about a mastery of scoping.
Yeah,
you know, of looking, because keep in mind those guys don't get to go on the face beforehand. I mean, unless you get a practice run. But you're looking at that from across the valley, from the gondola. You know, Drew and Andrew said like riders were doing bull wheel laps on the gondola, going up and just riding around the bull wheel and downloading and riding back up and then downloading again.
So they could get a different aspect as you go past.
It was the best view of the face because it goes right over it. Yeah, that was a masterclass in scoping for Ben to see that and give it a shot, and it totally worked.
And to add to it, Tabke was talking to how impressed he was with it. That was a very Tabke move too. Like,
yeah, that's probably why it spoke to him, right? Because he's like, oh, that's where I would have gone. Yeah, because he was, you know, in his time on the tour, he was that guy. He was the guy who found those off angle transfers,
cross court, east west
over
transfers,
and finding transition where if you're looking fall line, there's only flat landings, but as soon as you start drawing diagonal lines across the slope and looking at you know, at whether wind features or snow piled on rocks as potential landings, if you can move diagonally across the mountain, you know, Tabke was another master of that. So for him, yeah, I mean, that's a real feather in Ben's cap to get a call out from Drew Tabke about, you know, spotting it and then executing it without having never been on it before. So yeah, that was definitely like a real highlight spotlight. Obviously, we only got to see 2 runs in the entire event.
But yeah, and back to
that was really cool.
That was cool. So back to what we were talking about, the forerunners. You know, the chat was like, "Oh, the forerunners don't ski like their athletes do," and I was like, "Yes, they do. If you've been to an event or seen a lot of the forerunners go, like forerunners have changed the mood for entire events." Thinking of Wei Tian in Kicking Horse, was it 2022 or 2023?
I think
it was 23. I think it might have been 22, where they had to switch from ozone to T1 face, and it was chopped up, and all the riders were like, "Oh, this is brutal. Like, this is a junior face. It's been skied. It's not good." Wei Tian went in and destroyed that face, and everybody went, "Oh!" And we had a fantastic comp.
Yep,
amazing comp.
Toby Rafford in the Verbier Pro in when the Spain event or Andorra event was restaged in Verbier, he put a 4-run down that absolutely, like, exactly what you just said, completely changed the mood. Edgar Chelus in Val Thorens this year, exact same thing, put a run down. So take nothing away from the people they select to 4-run, they get that tap on the shoulder for a reason. And they take it seriously, and they go as hard as they can without blowing up, because if you explode, it's definitely goes the other way. You're like, ooh.
I don't know if I remember ever seeing. Well, this year Parkin kind of went. It didn't explode, but he kind of went off to another spot and kind of landed not on his skis. But I think that might be the one that I can actually really think about.
Oh, Max,
with the exception of Larry ruining the face.
Well, Larry also saved a lot of lives that day. So, but Max Palm the year before he got on tour, 4-ran in Andorra and punted a huge backflip off like one of the main features on the face. It was on the Port del Rat, and had one of the most violent punch front tomahawks I've ever seen, out of both skis, just flipping and flipping and flipping and flipping. And that had the opposite effect on the field, where like, oh yeah, we thought it might be a bit punchy. Well, that's what's waiting for us up there. So yeah, it can have a real effect, and
it can go both ways. Yeah,
it can really go both ways. Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't want to see those 4-runners thrown under the bus for.
Yeah, I don't like that narrative either.
No, not at all. They didn't ski fast enough, or they're not as good, or whatever. I mean, yeah, okay, they're not on tour, but they are still professional competitive free riders skiing at pace, and they're there to gather information. That's their whole job. So not only the feedback you get from them, but also the feedback that everyone else gets from watching them. If you watch somebody ski down something that's clearly not ready because it hasn't thawed, that's pretty obvious. Like they're not leaving a track, their skis are going off in both directions. There's a lot of signs, right? There's a lot of evidence. So all of those things are in play, and for those guys to take the heat on that, like no.
Yeah, well, and they get to the bottom and they hop on the radio and they tell everybody listens to the radio, everyone gathers around the radio, and they say, this is what I experienced. A lot of times they're out of breath and like, it's great. Sometimes depends on the forerunner, they'll break it down by section. Hey, the first section was really great. As soon as you got into the sun, it was a little crispy, and then you get in there and it was punchier. It was super, super nice and deep. And they'll break it down section by section. Sometimes they'll just get to the bottom and be like, that was awesome. Have fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes
green lights across the board, do whatever you want. It's on.
And then sometimes, like yesterday, I would highly assume they'd be like, yeah, I don't know, probably not good.
Yeah. So I got a little, luckily, just due to my circumstance, back door.
Yeah, you've heard through the grapevine.
Well, yeah. So they recorded the Forerunners feedback and put it onto the official riders WhatsApp group, and so I got to listen to it, and it was very, very honest. Good at the top, breakable crust at the bottom, still refrozen, or sorry, breakable crust in the middle, still refrozen at the bottom. But in much more detailed terms, and so it was everything was known, and I know from the organization standpoint there was just like this like clinging on to, it's gonna get better. We're gonna let the sun.
This urgency, right? Because they had a lot of pressure on them. Because they just had to cancel an event. They're like, we have to get this off. Like, there is so much pressure for them to make that happen. All the everything we talked about earlier in this episode that it takes to get them to that point, to have it start falling away again. Like, I can understand that, like, urgency or those maybe snap decisions or quick decisions that maybe are like a little bit more emotional versus based on really contemplative thought when you don't have it, right? Especially when you're in the moment. So I get it.
And the thought is the thought is there. Like, the thought is, we have a south and southeast facing, or big sections of a venue that are south and southeast facing. They're gonna improve with the sun. Like, that's objectively a fact. It's gonna soften. So we give it a little bit of time. We send another one. We give it a little bit of time. All right, it's getting closer. We give it another little bit of time, and now let's go. Like, because the time pressure of the end of the day when it turns to glue is super real. And we just came off an event where we couldn't finish. Now, it wasn't because of snow, but it was because of weather. But it's the same outcome, regardless of what the determining factor or the reason is. It's the same outcome if you can't finish because the snow has turned to something that's completely unskiable. So you got that pressure where you see this window shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, that you have, nearly 60 riders to fit through it. So yeah, man, like, I don't know. People are throwing, like, of course, online, you're going to just get all kinds of opinions.
Yes. Everybody has the right to their own opinion.
Yeah. And online is the best place to spray that. Or a podcast, I guess.
Touche.
But it was like almost impossible to try to figure out what the right answer was when the weather and the snow conditions were just slipping away, and or had slipped away, I think. And so they're hoping, okay, well, maybe the sun's going to help, because we've seen that happen over the years in many World Tour comps, where like that little bit of golden sunlight just makes the difference between red hot garbage and good enough. And those athletes are so good that good enough is all we need. And I'll tell you, the pressure is equally from the riders as it is from any other external source. Those riders are in a spot where they've had 2 events of what's supposed to be a 4-event series. We have people sitting under the cut who, with one good finish, could be over the cut. And they are putting a heap of pressure on the tour to get these events off, because a 2-event series is less integral than a 3-event series. And a 3-event series is less integral than a 4-event series, which is what they were told they would get. So for the tour, for the organization, for them to be like, yeah, it's not going to work. They're going to have a revolt from their riders who are sitting under the cut going, no, you told us we get 4, give us 4. All right, we will literally move heaven and earth to do 4. And on this one, like all the way across the globe to make it happen. And you're sitting there, and I can only imagine in the commissioner's shoes, and you're like, oh, this is rough, man. Like, is this even safe? Yeah, maybe it's good enough. Okay, well, we had those 4 runners go down. Let's give it another half hour. Yeah, that wasn't bad. Like, we can see their tracks now. These are the best people in the world at this. Let's give them a crack at it. They want it. They want it so, so bad. So yeah, like I really don't have a finger to point at any one place for this. I think ultimately it's the shittiest luck to have, because Kühtai was good. It was good 2 days ago. You look at the clips of the riders who are skiing in the resort on face check day, and especially the day before face check day. It was good. And certainly good enough for a comp, which is why they rallied the entire universe to get there. So yeah, it's a hard one. And I think they're some things went a little squirrely.
We do have to give them credit though for knowing to shut it down. Like, hey,
yeah.
we can't do this. We have to make sure there's credits given where credit's due. Is like, oh, that doesn't work for us. Rather than keep, like you said, someone's gonna hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Like the 2 of the best skiers in the world fell turning. So
Yeah.
good credit where credit is due to realizing that, but then shutting it down. And then that's kind of where things went haywire for them. So yeah, to summarize, it sucks that they missed out. It does have a lot of implications with regards to the cut. Fieberbrunn next week. I haven't heard anything, but I'm looking at the 14-day forecast. It's 11, 12, 14 degrees every day next week. Like, it's going to be hot there too. So I really, really hope that they can make that work. So I hope they get some kind of good luck that happens for them. I don't know what you've heard about Fieberbrunn. I haven't
not
heard
much. I'm supposed to be heading out there on Monday. So I have a maybe recklessly optimistic take on that, which is in the springtime, we get into a melt freeze cycle. And after a few days of the snow cycling through that, it turns to corn, which is great. It's almost like second best to powder. We were a day and a half into the melt freeze cycle in Kühtai. It wasn't corn yet. It was a weird crust. It was
sticky.
It was glue. But as it cycles through that, it melts and freezes and melts and freezes. The actual structure of the snow changes, and when it melts, there's this golden period of about 4 hours, where it seems like just about the right amount of time, where it's pretty good. And it's actually really fun to ride, and you don't blast through it, but it's also not sticky, but it's not ice. So looking at that forecast, my little Freeride heart is hoping that we'll get into kind of a pretty sick corn cycle in Fieberbrunn, and we might have a classic spring conditions comp.
Oh, that's cool.
That we just didn't have enough time for the cycle to occur in Kühtai, that we may have enough time to get into that cycle.
That's interesting, because then that would kind of tend to lead to more of a freestyle competition too, rather than people dropping big airs, but finding fun transitions to do cool
potentially
things.
yeah. So I don't know how realistic that is, but I
like the way you think. I like the optimism. I love the optimism. I like the way you think about that. That did you see me just now being like, whoa, actually I'm on board with that 100%. So yeah, hopefully that goes. So we'd love to hear, for those of you listening or watching, I'd love to hear your opinions on what we were just talking about. Because it was definitely interesting and fun to talk about. Like, I love when things like that happen because it keeps us going on this show. So send us an email to the Backslap at freerideguidepodcast.com, and we might just read it on the air. So let's get to the Backslaps from today. We have a few. Let's get started with Andrew Smith. So we tell you guys, we call it the backslap because maybe we want a nice slap on the back, but maybe we backslapped on something, and this is I backslapped hard. So this one's from Andrew Smith. First thing he wrote. Now the backslap. Here we go. Where is it here? Sorry, I cruised past it. Oh, here we go. Hey, thanks for keeping the stoke up. Got a couple things on my mind today. Andrew Smith. Mark, I think your levels were off in the Georgia Pro recording. Derek was way louder, and I had to keep swinging the volume up and down. Obviously, you don't need to read that on the show, but thought you should know. No.
Yeah, that's getting red.
Yeah, so I was editing this. I don't know what happened to the mic. I don't know what was going on, but I just couldn't fix it properly. And I released that episode knowing this, and the first thing I do is get an email from you calling me out on how bad the sound is. So thanks, Andrew. Seriously, like, I deserve that. I was already like, can I get away with this? Apparently not.
Backslap.
Yeah, backslapped hard. So thanks for that, Andrew. Also, let's get into another quick question from him. I'm curious if there's any discussion about bringing back condensed broadcasts. I know they had a few years ago, but for whatever reason, it didn't seem to work. Getting a broadcast out that hits closer to the 3-hour mark, like other sporting events, might make it easier to share. It goes a little bit farther, but that's kind of the gist of things. And I kind of agree with that, especially with a comp like yesterday's where, you have to go on hold for so long. Being live has its benefits, but then also hosting the comp, quickly editing and condensing it, and then releasing it has its benefits too.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been any discussion about that. The pre-recorded broadcast that they did in Japan and Kicking Horse in 2020 were kind of a disaster. Like, people, and that was in place of the entire live broadcast. So I think what Mark is saying is, as well as they do a 55-minute, a 35-minute, and a 15-minute.
Oh, do you mean like in addition to? I thought he was just saying, just bringing back the. Oh, is he? So I was thinking like overall, just like as like the primary release of the.
Maybe.
Event. But also, what you're saying is like a highlight package.
Well, they have that. That's what I'm saying. They have it.
They do. How do I not know this?
Yeah, they have a 55-minute, a 30-minute, and a 15-minute. I think. I don't know if those minute.
Is that what you watch when you will need to catch up so we can do the podcast?
No, I just watch it. But yeah, I hear what he's saying. I mean, it's long, but the comp is long, and I don't know. I don't know if they're. I don't know what you skip. Like, we do a 15-minute pre-show. We have a 2-minute break between each category, and the rest of it is sport.
I would think you just cut out the waiting for the results. You just cut like a minute or two off, because it usually takes sometimes 30 seconds to a couple minutes to get
waiting for scores.
Results. So if you got 50 riders, you take a minute off of everybody. That's an hour you cut off right off the bat. You know what I mean? So that's interesting. Yeah. I'm going to go look at that because although I watch them all live, I always assumed you would just go and watch the whole thing again. But you have a mind like a steel trap. You have the best Freeride memory of it's absolutely astonishing to me. I don't know, because we'll do this show and we'll talk about something and I know you haven't watched it and you'd be like, oh yeah, and then he did this and then they did that and then blah blah blah, and I'm like, wait, I'm going back and referencing my notes and I'm like, oh, he's right. Like, you remember everyone's run. It's wild. And it's a good good skill to have. So Andrew Smith had another question, and we had Sam Bender, who is a frequent contributor to the Backslap. They both have a very similar question. Maybe I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so Andrews is now the Backslap to the FWT. Does the tour really not pay for athlete travel? I'd always assumed the tour supported athlete logistics and covered costs, but the way the discussion went around Georgia made me doubt that assumption. And Sam Benders is kind of along the same line, so I think we'll read that as well, and then we'll try to combo the answers up. Sam says, I was thinking about how everyone has to travel to the new location last minute, and now I'm wondering about what it costs to spend a season on the tour and who pays. Is there a fee to be an athlete? What does travel cost? Who pays for all that, and accommodation and equipment and stuff? What's the total cost number to spend a season on the tour, and how many athletes have sponsors covering some or all of it, and how much? So, I mean, we don't have numbers at hand. Everybody's getting paid different amounts. Most of them keep that pretty close to their chest. So what I can tell you is what the tour does cover. So they cover athletes' accommodation at the event. They cover athletes' food at the event. They cover athletes' lift tickets at the event. And there's prize money all the way to last. So just for showing up, you're getting money. And that prize money obviously ramps up very significantly up towards the top 5. That's where it really, it really steps up. Flights and things like that, the only time the tour will step in and help is if something runs off schedule. So if we're heading into Spain and the organizing group goes to Spain and says, we actually need to run this early because the conditions are not going to stay good after during the actual advertised window, we need everybody to come 2 days early. The tour will help with their flights to move up because everyone's been planning this since, I don't know, when does the schedule get released? In like October,
summertime.
August?
Yeah.
So if the schedule has to get moved up, the tour will help with travel, like the actual travel. But otherwise, they're paying for everything basically once you're on site, but it's on you to get you as an athlete to get there. Well-established athletes have bigger sponsor budgets than
lots of Red Bull helmets on the tour.
Yep, and for sure there's money there. And those guys definitely, and girls, have bigger budgets. They have bigger retainers from their sponsors. They're getting paid more. If you're first year on the tour, realistically, your budget's probably pretty small, and you may be using the money that you earned waiting tables or being a doctor or an engineer or whatever. The various things that all these tour athletes do. It's the ultimate overachievers club. So just about everybody's got a degree or in process of getting a degree in some extremely lucrative profession, which is just so impressive to me, just as a general statement. But yeah, their levels of support from external sources are vastly varied. And most of that just depends on establishment in the sport and previous results in the sport. So those that have world titles, well, their support is bigger. And on down the line to the rookies where it can be not much, and they're definitely having to dip into their own pockets to fund some of this. And a move like Georgia to Kühtai, while it seems like it would be a huge extra financial burden, and it is somewhat, all of those riders were going to Austria anyway after Georgia because Fieberbrunn was the next stop. So nobody had to go to a different country than they were already planning to. Yeah, they had to go to Innsbruck instead of Fieberbrunn, but Austria is not that big. That's a train ride difference. So those flights were already booked. Those were already accounted for. So for sure, this was an extra spend for everyone, including the tour. And I would imagine the tour's extra spend on moving from Georgia to Kühtai goes into the hundreds of thousands of euros.
Not insignificant. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to take anything away from what the athletes have to spend. I mean, they're doing it, and they're paying for it. But I think that was a factor in Kühtai being the restage for Georgia. Was let's try to help out these athletes because they're already coming to Austria anyway to go to Fieberbrunn. So yeah, we move up the timeline a little bit because Georgia wasn't going to work.
And help ourselves out because we don't have to go too far to move on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, all of those factors are in play. But yeah, they're not paying for flights, and they're not paying for accommodation outside of competition weather windows.
You're right. Okay, well, that's a really great answer, Derek. So that's the Backslap for this day. Like I said, we've had a pretty big talk about a controversial possibility that didn't actually happen. So we'd love to hear your opinions on it. Backslap at freerideguidepodcast.com. I want to give you a quick little IFS. Obviously no fun bet. So we can't do the fun bet. It seems like it's been forever since the fun bet was able to.
Yeah, Val Thorens was a month ago.
Right? A couple athletes, like you've been off for a month. How does that ever happen in the middle of the winter? I hope you took advantage of it, Derek. I know you did.
It's been great to be at home and with my family and working with the Freeride Club and coaching with Extremely Canadian, doing PSIC courses. Lots of things that fill my Freeride Cup up outside of the World Tour. I will say I'm frothing to get back at it. It was weird watching from the outside. It was kind of cool, and I enjoyed the experience, especially the immersion in the YouTube chat. Obviously, I think I would have liked it a lot more if I got to watch a comp and hear Andrew and Drew go off to some to some really great action on the snow. But yeah, I'm fiending to get back into it and get a good event in Fieberbrunn.
All right. Well, speaking of events, there are some. So we are definitely partners with IFSA. They've got some comps coming up. 27th. So I'm just looking at the calendar right now. There's a Snowbird IFSA Junior 3-star. There's a Kirkwood IFSA Junior 3-star this week. I think actually they've already happened. The Kirkwood one is upcoming. I know that some of the IFSA crew are actually heading to Alyeska for a Junior 3-star in a few days, March 3rd to the 5th. There's a Taos IFSA qualifier 4-star, March 3rd to the 5th. So Freeride is starting to ramp up. Revelstoke has an event this week as well. Breckenridge, Winter Park, Vale. So lots and lots of things are happening. As I said, I'm going to be on the broadcast. I'm doing your job for the challengers, the Region 2 challengers, Kirkwood, as well as Whitewater in Nelson and Kicking Horse in Golden, BC. I'm going to be doing it with a partner announcer. Is going to be Rachel Shannon, who over the last few years has really becoming involved with the IFSA. She's a competitor. She told me today, we had a meeting today, that she, I think, was on the list to make the challengers or almost made the challengers. And she was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'll just watch. So she definitely knows what she's doing. And we are setting up to make the broadcast for the challengers as good as we possibly can. We're trying to make it to the same level as what you get watching the Freeride World Tour. The plans are in place. We're having meetings. We are really all fired up to make this a really good product for everybody to watch. And it's going to be fun. I love that it's condensed into 3 events within 2 weeks. It's going to be awesome. I'm really, really excited for it. And I can't wait to talk to you guys and announce some Freeride. So Foos, I may off camera have to pick your brain a little bit and get some tips. I've done it once, but you're the legendary. You're the GOAT, bud. Right? See what happens when you don't show up?
Yeah, that's flattering, but definitely not true.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in to this episode of the Freeride Guide. It's 2 in a row where we've found an hour plus to talk about something that didn't happen. But that's all part of it. We love it. Thanks to Head and Tyrolia. Thanks to Surefoot Skiing. Thanks to you. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, Instagram, and hit us with that 5-star review or share it with your friends. Thanks again, and we will talk to you sooner than you think.
Bye-bye.
This has been a Redmark Media production.